Welcome to the Get Out In It podcast, keeping our mental and physical well-being balanced by heading out into nature and doing stuff.
The activity isn't important. Walk, run, hike, bike, whatever it is, just find something you enjoy and get out in it. The point of this podcast is to show how ordinary people can achieve extraordinary levels of health and fitness.
Out here, we'll share informal, inclusive advice for anyone trying to improve their mental and physical well-being, based on our own experiences and professional knowledge from our special guests.
So let's lace up and get out in it. And here we are. Welcome to episode 25, and what a week it has been. How are you, James Bale?
I normally do that bit. What just happened? What just happened? Unexpected.
I know, I changed it all up.
I'm very well. I'm very well indeed. It's been a really, really pleasant week and a half so far. Another half a week in France, and I'm getting used to the sun. I'm getting used to the mosquitoes.
Ugh.
And I'm enjoying a bit of running and a bit of being outside. How about you?
Well, this week I've been quite tired, unsurprisingly perhaps. I haven't done a lot of getting out in it. Oh, go to that a little bit later. But yeah, no, this week I've just been a little bit sleepy. Fatigued.
Yeah, not unexpected though. Not unexpected after the weekend you had last weekend. So we'll launch into this podcast, as always, with the question, what have you done this week to get out in it?
Got out in it. Not a lot. So this week I've done a couple of walks. That's pretty much all I could manage at the beginning of the week. Actually, was it on Monday? On Monday, which was just 2 days after my 56k ultra, first ever DNF. And I hiked 11 Ks, which was quite impressive after a big old ultra.
Really slowly.
It was so slow. What did that take, like 3.5 hours?
Yeah, and it was relatively flat, and there was a lot of waiting around by me.
I mean, you say flat. I remember a lot of downhill because I struggled so hard on the downhills.
Yeah, there was a fair descent from maybe 3-4k to go down to the finish, which was also the start. I mean, it was a loop. So yeah, there was a bit of descending to be done.
Yeah, so that was quite nice. But then for the rest of the week, I haven't been doing a lot. I've done a couple of walks. Well, my whole training schedule has been out of whack because obviously I'm still recovering from my 56k ultra.
Yeah, so it should be really. I mean, you've just been eating healthily. You've been you have. I mean, relative. You've been eating healthy with a few treats here and there, and you've been keeping moving, which is the most important thing. There have been some walks, there's been some sports in the park, there haven't been any runs, and there haven't been any planned training sessions.
Did my yoga.
And you did your yoga, which is very good for recovery. So yeah, the most important thing after you've pushed yourself to a level that you're not normally used to is to keep moving until that body heals and gets back to its old ways.
And what's been quite interesting is that the DOMS wore off very, very quickly, but the fatigue didn't.
No. And you mean that's again to be expected. You're going to be feeling a bit tired. You went beyond your normal limits, and you'll feel better in a week or so.
Okay, cool. Anyway, that's me. What about you? What have you done this week to get out in it?
Well, this week, I mean, I'm just going from strength to strength on the running. To be honest, it's all coming back. I'm feeling much more positive, much more able to do what I used to be able to do, and even to the point where I went for a run along the river the other day, and I was just running a comfortable 5:30 pace without really breaking a sweat. So I feel like it's all coming back together. So I'm up for it. I've been running in lovely places. I've been running in the Beaujolais. I've been running in the Mont d'Or. I've just living life and loving it right now.
Nice. Good for you.
And whilst I've been doing that, I've been eating really healthy food and fueling my journey appropriately.
Huh. That's interesting. That sounds like it's relevant to today's conversazione, no?
I think it is, yeah, I think it is. I think we have got a really enthralling guest this week, someone who makes it their life to help people fuel in the right way for the sport of triathlon. A lot of the information is applicable to all kinds of exercise and endurance sports, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good fun, and I've been desperate to talk to Taryn for ages, actually. I've wanted to talk to a qualified nutritionist about food and fueling for ages. So I'm gagging for this hike and a chat with her.
Shall we sling our hiking boots on and get on with it then?
Yes. Let's do it.
Getting into it. So this week we are lucky enough to be joined by Taryn Richardson, who's the owner and founder of Dietitian Approved, which is a nutrition online specialist company that focuses on triathletes and how to fuel your adventures. So we got her on for a chat all about nutrition and endurance sport. Taryn, great to have you here. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. This is my favorite topic to talk about in the world. So you might need to rein me in at some point.
Not at all. I'm obsessed with food. So I'm very excited to talk to you about food for hours.
Okay, deal. Done.
The first question we have to ask whenever we have a guest on the show is, what have you done this week to get out in it?
Oh, that's a hard one because I'm not getting out in it too much at the moment. I go to the gym at the moment. I used to do triathlon before I had little people, but now I maximize my time efficiency, and I've been to the gym 2 or 3 times so far, and it's Friday afternoon here.
Nice. It's very impressive.
Yeah. That's good going. Good going.
Is it also because it's like hot as bollocks for you out there at the moment? Is that why you're sticking to the gym?
It's not hot as bollocks. This is normal for us. It's just time. Like, I don't have a lot of time in my life. I have tiny little people and run a business, and I love swimming and cycling and running and combining those 3 in triathlon myself. But yeah, at the moment, it's just a time efficiency thing. I could exercise all day, every day if you let me. It's just fitting it all in.
So Dietitian Approved, what is it? Tell us about your business.
So I actually bred my business name when I was living in London. I came up with a name in my flat in Clapham, where all the Aussies gravitate to. And it's evolved a lot over the last 15 years, but now I work solely and exclusively with triathletes to help them understand how to fuel for 3 sports in a week. And I do that through my Triathlon Nutrition Academy program. It's all online. We have athletes in there from all over the world. And I basically step them through 3 phases that build their nutrition from the foundations up. So I really am passionate about teaching athletes how to eat properly just on a day-to-day basis, because we tend to kind of do the sprinkles on the icing on the cake first, particularly in endurance sports. But it's really this not so sexy foundations that are, daily habits that we compound over time. That is where the magic happens. And so I'm really passionate about teaching athletes how to do that first before we ice our cake and then put the sprinkles on at the top.
Yeah, so it's not all about that race day nutrition, or that training nutrition, but it's daily, day in, day out, making the right choices.
It's both, yeah, but it's what you do on a day-to-day basis that leads into a really good race plan. It's not that one thing that you do once in a race. It's what you do consistently over time that will make you a better athlete.
So one Cliff Bar doesn't solve all life's problems.
They're pretty tasty, but no, unfortunately not.
They're so yummy. Yeah, I do love those, yeah.
So if someone's listening and they're coming from the perspective of never having really considered nutrition before, beyond knowing or beyond having the perception, if I eat too much, I get bigger. If I eat less, I get smaller.
Yeah.
And there are health thoughts and consequences associated with what I eat, but it's never gone any deeper with that. And then this person has decided to start moving, start exercising, maybe start training for a triathlon. Where do they start on that nutrition journey?
Yeah, it can be quite overwhelming in the beginning too, because there is so much information out there and there's so many things you could do and should do. But I think it's really just flipping your mindset around putting the right fuel in your high performance engine. So we need to think a bit differently when we are a sedentary general population type person. If we then want to layer in high level exercise on top of that, we need to start to flip our mindset to be more fueling strategically and recovering properly. So that is actually the best time to implement some nutrition strategies is right in the beginning, because most people, particularly triathletes who train a lot in a week, they might go from doing nothing and, having a dieting mindset and dieting culture from, previous life, and take that with them then into training, 10 hours a week. So it's a really key time that we want to start to focus on our nutrition and put some building blocks in place Otherwise, you'll end up sick and injured and running the risk of, things like stress fractures if you don't do a good job from the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. And where does someone start on that journey? If you've gone from, like you say, a sedentary human being, and then you're starting to really increase your activity on a daily basis, what are the important factors to address in your day-to-day eating habits?
Yeah, I think there's a few big rocks. So the first things that you want to focus on are what you do around your training sessions, first and foremost. What are you doing before them? Maybe what you're doing during them. You're probably not doing too much training right in the beginning that you need to focus too much on during training nutrition, but particularly important, what are you doing for your recovery afterwards? That is a key window of opportunity where our body is just searching for these building blocks. We're doing a session to kind of get fitter and faster, right? And so we want to bookend that with the right nutrition principles so that we can get the most out of it. So they would be the two areas that I would focus on first before you start layering in what you're doing during. And then the next big rock is thinking about how do you eat on different types of training days to support that. So like, because I work with triathletes, I know that they have different styles of training days. We have maybe lighter or rest or recovery days, rest days, whatever those are. Then you might have, a really hard session which has intervals in it. Could be hill sprints, could be a crit race style thing on the bike. It could be like higher pace efforts in the pool. Those sorts of training sessions are much higher intensity, and we need to fuel them differently. And then you might start dabbling in longer endurance sessions where we're on the bike for an hour and a half or 2 hours or 3 hours or 6 hours. And we need to think about eating differently on those days as well, because you can't eat the same thing every day when your training is variable if you start stepping into doing from nothing into something. So we need to think about our whole week as well. So a couple of big rocks to start with without getting too overwhelmed.
So what are we eating? We talk about nutrition as a kind of global, like, umbrella word. What does that mean? What should we be eating?
So I'm very much a dietitian, and I have a food first philosophy. So I think we need to focus on eating like real food, as less processed as possible and less from a packet as possible. So our main food groups, and we want to try and include foods from all the food groups. So our meats and alternatives. So things like chicken, red meat, eggs, any of the vegan and vegetarian alternatives like tofu and its fermented cousin tempeh, those sorts of options. We also want to make sure we're having enough dairy in our life. And dairy's had a really bad rap lately. Like, honestly, everyone's on milk alternatives because dairy's so bad for us. And I don't know. Anyway, but we need really good calcium in our diet for our entire lifespan. And so it's okay if you don't have dairy because you're intolerant or you have an allergy or something, but you need to replace that calcium with something else and make sure you're getting enough, because particularly people that are active, we're doing that loading on our bones. We lose more and we use more. So we need to make sure we're getting enough. We also want to make sure we're eating enough fruits and vegetables. Now, the UK is pretty bad at that, to be honest. You guys are the worst. The US is not far behind, and Australia is pretty bad as well. But the recommendations of 2 serves of fruit and 5 serves of veggies, I know you guys have recently stepped that up, actually. It used to be like aim for 5, and now they've recently switched it to 7, which is good, to get all of those nutrients into your life. And a lot of us don't eat enough fruits and vegetables. So I think we need to, do that every single day, and maybe replace some of the junk with that will help you be a healthier human overall. So we've got meats, we've got dairy, we've got fruits and veggies, and then all of our healthy fats are really important as well. So things like avocados, nuts and seeds, olive oil is the oil of choice if you can. And then beautiful omega-3s like our fatty fish, like salmon and tuna and herring and mackerel. So it's really just about eating from all of the food groups, not limiting or avoiding anything unless you have a real reason to do that, and making sure we're getting all of those nutrients in our life from food rather than a supplement.
So variety, basically.
Yeah, spice of life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is your sort of daily building blocks. As you travel through life, make sure you're eating from many food groups. You're getting all your key macros in.
And micros, yeah.
Yeah, and let's say I'm going for a 6-hour bike ride, as we discussed a minute ago, on one day. What changes do you think I make on that day? Am I putting more carbs in my body the day before, or am I leading into that bike ride and carbing through it? What would you suggest if I said to you, like, yeah, no, I'm gonna ride 300 miles tomorrow?
Yeah, all of the above. It depends what your overall training program looks like. So if you do nothing all week and then ride for 6 hours one day a week, then you would eat differently to somebody that has a full training week and then has to then do a 6-hour ride on the weekend. But yeah, you're looking at what you do before and fueling up pre-training. You're definitely going to need to have some carbohydrate fuel during, because otherwise your fuel tank's going to run out and you're going to bonk or hit the wall, and you're going to need a Coke or a Slurpee to get yourself home, or a sag wagon. And then recovery, particularly important after that as well. But also we want to make sure our fuel tank is optimal before we go and do that. We don't want to start that ride on empty. So it is about eating more carbohydrate in the 1 or 2 days preceding that, to make sure, just like you put fuel in a car, make sure that it's full and ready to go, so that that fatigue point is as far into the ride as you can possibly manage it. And then you're topping it up with what you have during.
Yeah, so those yummy starchy carbs on the leading up to your big day out.
Yeah,
Big day
because
out's a festival here.
Yeah, when someone says carbs to me, I think pasta and bread. Is that right? Pasta and bread?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's one group. There's 5 food groups that have carbs in it. So it's all of your breads and cereals, which is your pasta, bread, rice, noodles, crackers, muesli bars, those sorts of things. Fruits is carbs. So whether it's fresh or dried or juice. Your starchy veggies, which you mentioned, that's your root vegetables like potato, sweet potato, corn, parsnips in there.
Oh, I love pasta.
Then you've got dairy is carbs. So everything basically but cheese and cream has carbohydrate in that dairy group. And then the last one is our legumes. So chickpeas, lentils, baked beans, red kidney beans, those sorts of things are carbs. So that's where you get carbohydrate from food. And then obviously you get carbohydrate from like soft drink, lollies, Cliff bars, those sorts of things as well.
Okay, so I had a big event on Saturday, and on Friday night, James made me baked sweet potato with baked beans on top, with some cut up vegan sausages. Was that good fuel before my event?
Probably depends what you were doing. Were you riding or running?
I ran an ultra marathon.
Oh God, that's a lot of fiber before an ultra marathon. Maybe dial that down a little if you can.
Okay.
I know your body's robust enough and used to enough fiber to be able to handle that. I knew we'd be fine. You have a very, very fiberful diet.
Yeah.
Are you more of a plant-based eater?
Yeah, I've been vegan since 2008. So yeah, everything I eat is plant-based, and I am because I've only been training and running for the last couple of years though, so I have had to be a little bit more. I don't know. I have to concentrate a little bit more on my protein, making sure I eat much more protein. So I tend to go for chickpeas and lentils and tofu as opposed to the processed vegan meat alternatives, because
they're not chickens.
Because they're yummy and all, but I am aware that they are highly processed. So I do try and limit those as much as possible. But yeah, so I have been a bit more focused on my food since I've been training, because it's ultra marathons it's a long day out running.
Yes. So calcium's a big one for you then. If you don't have any normal dairies, getting enough calcium from your diet from dairy alternatives.
I am quite obsessed with broccoli. I think there's a lot of broccoli in a lot of calcium in broccoli, and also spinach, which I'm also obsessed with. So I think it's leafy greens for vegan.
Yes, it's not as bioavailable though, but yes, from a vegetable perspective, they would be the higher ones. Otherwise, you're looking at things like almonds with the skin on, fortified soy milk, fortified almond milk, those sorts of milk alternatives that are fortified. You've got to check the label for that. Dried figs as well. And do you have any sort of fish products? Or are you fully vegan?
No, fully vegan. Yeah. So I'm not
seeds.
Seeds
are the key. Many seeds.
All the seeds.
Talking about having a big day out like an ultra marathon or this 6-hour bike ride that we were talking about. You talk about the fatigue point, where you load your carbs a couple of days beforehand. You go into that big day out, whatever it is, and then your intake of carbohydrates is steady as you go through. And then you get to that 6-hour bike ride, and you feel like, oh, I'm going to And that is to push that, because you can't really, once you've started emptying that tank, you can't fill it up enough to ever counter that emptying. So you're just trying to push that point where you really start to suffer as far back as possible. The intake of carbohydrates, is that something you can train yourself to manage to take in more? Can you train your gut for that?
Yes, you can. And you will need to if you're going to do something like ultra marathons or Ironman distance events. You can't fill up a fuel tank while you're exercising. Probably like you can't fill up your car while it's running. You have to turn it off. What you have in your mouth while you're exercising is really just kind of preventing that fuel tank from running empty. But we typically burn way more than we can tolerate through our gut anyway. Our gut is our rate limiting step. It is the digestion and absorption and pulling apart that carbohydrate fuel and then absorbing it into your bloodstream. That is where we get stuck. So you can train your gut to actually digest and absorb that carbohydrate with gut training, because it's not something that's like intuitive. When we are exercising, it's a stress response where our sympathetic nervous system is heightened. And that's our fight or flight, like run away from a lion nervous system. That switches off our rest and digest pathways. And so it's actually hard to digest food and absorb it while we're trying to run away from a lion. So most people kind of have experienced that also in the bad way, where you have maybe too much before you go or the day before and everything kind of just evacuates, one end of the spectrum. Or the other one is if you overdo it for putting it in your mouth and your stomach's just not going anywhere, then it kind of exits the other direction as well. So you can train it to do a better job of that over time. And we don't really know how long that takes exactly. There's no evidence-based protocols yet, but I would suggest that it's individual anyway.
Yeah, because I do struggle with trying to, because you're always telling me off for this, for eating enough during either my long training runs at the weekend or during actual events, because I'm not hungry. Just don't feel the hunger. So that I'm just running and enjoying the day and stuff. And it's like, oh, maybe I should eat something. It's been an hour. And it's not my first thought. And also the thing is, I don't, even though I've got a little bit of a sweet tooth when I'm not training, like I do love a bit of ice cream, but during the day, during the event or the long training run, I just don't want to eat the sugar. It makes me feel a little bit sick. So like, is there anything savory I can eat while I'm running that will make me want to eat that thing while I'm out there?
Yeah, there's loads of things. It's hard because all of the commercial nutrition products are sweet.
Yeah.
Gels are sweet, sports drinks are sweet. There's quite a few products coming on the market now that are like low flavor profile. There's always savories though, and you might just need to get a deal with what you do and what you make. I created a little Fuel Your Adventure book many years ago for this reason. I had so many athletes who needed some savory options. So in there is like my secret stack, which is Vegemite. I don't know if you guys are into that. You guys have Vegemite?
Vegemite,
I'm more of a Marmite man.
I do love Marmite. I also love
Marmite.
Vegemite, yeah.
So it's that. You can make mashed potato gels with something like an instant, make your own sports drink. You can make little energy balls and things that are a bit more savory, or some bike bars and things like that. There's plenty of options. If you're doing ultras and you're doing things even overnight, you can make your own savory sports drink with stock cubes and soup mixes and stuff. So plenty of options. You just got to think outside the square.
Think outside the box. That's right. Because normally during my training runs, I've created this mix. I mix nuts and seeds with mini pretzels and some raisins, and that can keep me going during my training runs. But I did bring some on my event on Saturday.
Yes, I had a cold bag full of sandwiches, didn't I, as well?
Sandwiches, but I brought some of my like pretzel type mix on my run, but it was in my backpack in a kind of pot, and it just got smashed to fuck. It's like, I don't want to eat this. It's just mush.
Yeah, it's powder now.
So that's interesting. Stock soup for drinks. Yeah.
Soup for drinks.
Soup for drinks. Yes.
Yeah, but pump it with some maltodextrin powder so you've got the carbohydrate on board.
Oh, interesting. Yes. Okay, I just need to make stuff myself. I think I rely a little bit too much on buying stuff that's already out there. Just got to not be lazy, make my own stuff.
There is no savory gel on the market at the moment. There was a Vegemite one. It doesn't exist anymore, but I'm working on a company to make one. So hold the fort.
Okay.
Give it a few years of product development and there'll be something out there.
There you go. Now, we're talking about day-to-day eating habits and training and racing habits. I've been doing triathlon for a long time. I did my first triathlon in 1998. Back then, there was a belief that if you stoke the fire hot enough, it would burn anything. Does that opinion hold strong today? Can you outrun a bad diet?
No, simple answer, no. I guess I see this a lot with triathletes because they are very functional, like high achieving people that do a lot of training hours. Same as like an ultra runner, right? You do a lot of training hours in a week. You might be able to think you're getting away with it, but like I said right in the beginning, we need to switch our mindset from, general everyday eating and think about what fuel we're putting in our high performance engine. Are we feeding it with the cheap economy stuff and hoping it to perform like a Porsche? Or are we actually driving something that we have respect for and we want to put that premium fuel in? Because you will have so much more energy and you'll be a better athlete and have better sessions if we're putting the right things in at the right time. Like you might feel like your body composition maybe doesn't change if you eat a bit of crap here and there, but for me, it's about performance in training and in racing. And that is so much better if you're putting the more expensive premium fuel in your high performance engine.
Yeah, because my my big downfall, my Achilles heel when it comes to food is crisps. It's like my heroin. And when I've come back after a really, really long run, because like my long runs on a Sunday can be like 3, 4, 5 hours. So I come back and I eat like a giant, yes. I come back and I eat like a giant family-sized packet of crisps. Surely that's okay? Because I've just burned like 1 billion calories on my run.
So all that tells me is you did a crap job of fueling beforehand and you did a crap job of fueling during, that you feel like that afterwards.
Okay.
That is what that tells me, that you underfuel your training in a big way.
This is something that I tell you a lot.
Yeah, pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's like the learning how to fuel and the nutrition has been the hardest part of training, like hands down. It's really a thing for me. So crisps, cross next to.
You can eat crisps. Maybe take some of them with you training so that you're scratching that itch if they're your heroin. But you need to plan proper recovery after your runs that tick all of your right boxes to do that first. And then keep eating every few hours after a run like that, because it is glycogen depleting. We are running through our fuel tank in a session like that. And you're not like, your body's making you crave that food because it is in a hole, it's in a deficit. A lot of people will eat a whole heap of sweet in that case, but you're a savory person by the sounds.
Yeah.
But yeah, more fueling during. So whatever you're doing now, step it up.
Okay.
Step it up. And then in terms of recovery afterwards, you get back from your long run, are we looking for some sort of protein smoothie, some sort of protein source? I assume with some carbohydrates to help absorption. Where are we looking for these recovery sources?
There's 4 R's of recovery. Most people get those 2 big macros, your protein and your carbohydrate, and you need enough specifically for you. So there's a few, like you need somewhere between 20 and 40 grams of protein in that window, but it depends if you're a growing body, you're a female over 50, like where you're at in your training, or if you're a plant-based athlete, you're going to need on the upper end as well, because the plant-based sources of protein are not as bioavailable as our animal sources. So you need to shove a bit extra in to pull the right amount of amino acids out. You need carbohydrate, definitely. The longer you go and the more high intensity, the more you need, but it's also based on you and your body composition too. So that's very individual. And the 3rd R of recovery. So the first one's repair for protein, refuel is carbohydrate. The third R is revitalize. That's putting all of our vitamins and minerals back in the system. We tend to forget that. We tend to go, yep, I've had a protein shake, like I'm recovered, tick. But we need to think more holistically around everything on our plate or in our smoothie so that we are putting all of those vitamins and minerals back in the body. They are the precursors for a lot of our recovery pathways. And the more active you are, there's some nutrients that we need more of as well. And we need to rely on food sources rather than synthetic ones. So putting, like if you're having something like eggs on toast, put some spinach with it, put some tomato with it, throw some legumes in there. If you've got a smoothie, it's not protein powder and water. We're using some sort of dairy or calcium rich base. And then maybe it's got some berries in there. It's got some nut butter or some nuts and seeds in there. Throw some baby spinach leaves in there. Hey, do me a favor and freeze some zucchini and chuck that in there too. And that'll boost up your nutrients. Make it nice and smooth. And I promise you won't die.
Frozen courgettes.
Yeah, yeah. You just outlined the difference between the way I make a protein smoothie and the way you do.
Yeah. Because the thing is, like,
in what camp?
I'm in the nut butter, seeds, spinach, berries.
Get my powder, get a bit of oat milk, mix it up, chuck it down. I'm quite lazy. I think that's also my issue with fueling, because when I think about training, I'm just thinking, well, training is running, training is my strength session, training is yoga, and I eat my meals during the day, and that's my fuel. I'm quite lazy when it comes to the rest of the stuff.
So maybe you need to get James to make your recovery smoothies for you.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's thinking about like your engine, right? Like give it some respect, put the right things in, because nutrition for triathletes, it is the fourth leg. Like you've got to swim, you've got to bike, you've got to run, and then you have to do nutrition, and you want to layer that into your strategy as quickly as possible when you start the sport.
So the world's a confusing place. The internet is vast with many, many sources of information. So if you're listening to this at home and you're thinking, right, okay, I want to make the right choices, where's a good place to go for that information? Obviously your website, but how do you search? Yeah. How do you search for the right sources of information? Don't get overwhelmed by, oh, you should be doing this fad diet, or you should be doing this.
Yeah, you're right. It is overwhelming. It's confusing. It is a huge abyss of misinformation as well. The number of articles online that are written by people that aren't qualified in nutrition just blows my mind. So if you are reading on the internet, I'd probably suggest you just avoid it, full stop. But if you are reading on the internet, make sure you look at the byline and who's actually writing the article, and make sure that they're an accredited practicing dietitian. And if it's sports related, make sure they're a sports dietitian. So that's really important, because a lot of the big websites like, Triathlete and Triathlon 220, they have anyone contribute, and they are everyday punters. Like I get really when nobody's write a really detailed, specific nutrition article, like you should do this and you should do this many grams and this times. And you really need to be seeking out professional advice and professional help from somebody that's qualified in nutrition. Yeah, so we need to seek the right advice from the right professionals, because we don't go to our GP for cardiac surgery, and we don't go to our podiatrist to fix our eyes. We need to be getting nutrition advice from people that have qualified and done degrees in nutrition, because honestly, everyone seems to be a freaking expert in nutrition these days.
Yeah, indeed. And a lot of people are making the wrong choices and mistakes along the way, and paying the price for that, I think, because you can get yourself into a real hole if you don't fuel properly day-to-day life, and you don't fuel properly in your training and your racing. The implications for that can be quite catastrophic going forward.
Yeah, and it's not until people get really sick or really injured that they go, oh, maybe I should probably seek advice now. But right in the beginning, when you start, is when you should be starting to layer that in. Like exercise, depending on what you do, it can be quite expensive. Like cycling's quite expensive. Running's not too bad, depending on how fast you go through shoes. But, there's always lots of gear that you can get. Yeah. Triathlon in particular is an extremely expensive sport. And so it's an investment in time, and it's an investment in money, getting some help with nutrition. But, a little bit of work up front will set you up forever.
Yes.
So what about, because like James is a young man in his 30s. I'm a premenopausal woman in my mid-40s. When we're talking about fueling, is it like fueling for the human, or are there big differences? Like if James and I are going out on a long run together, can we fuel the same, or do we need to be thinking differently? No. Okay.
Yeah, totally different. You guys are totally different beasts. Like I can only see the top half of your body, and I can tell already that you have a huge disparity in body composition, right?
Yes.
Muscle mass level, very, very different. So you need to be fueling for your body and your life stage and how fit and active you are. And it does change as well. Like, it's not set or forget nutrition. It's something that will evolve with you as you evolve over time.
Kind of what I thought the answer was going to be. I was hoping it was, no, do the same thing. Just copy James. No, I've got to think for myself. Gosh.
So if someone is listening to this and they are thinking, right, okay, I need to go and find advice online from someone who's a qualified nutritionist. I want to start fueling properly. I want to start putting the right things in my body to be able to do triathlon as a sport or ultra running as a sport. Then what do you think that first step is? Is it going and getting advice, or are there immediate changes someone can make? Obviously, we don't know this person, where this person is, but what's that first step?
Yeah, it depends. I think you'd still need to find a professional to get some form of advice from. It doesn't have to be one-on-one consultations, though. Like, it could be an online course. I have a triathlon nutrition kickstart course, which is 347 Aussie dollars. With the exchange rate to the pound at the moment, that's like half of that at the moment.
It's like a tenner, isn't it?
There are more cost-effective. Yeah, it's crazy. It's basically free. There's more cost-effective ways to get good quality advice, but it does need to come from a qualified dietitian, because the term nutritionist is not necessarily regulated. In the UK, you have performance nutritionists, but they aren't necessarily dietitians. They could be a physio or an EP that's done a little bit of a tack-on nutrition course. So you want to have a look at somebody's professional qualifications and make sure they have done a degree in nutrition. And I would also, in the realm of dietitians, find somebody that's specific to your sport, because I'm triathlon specific. I only work with triathletes. They're my kind of crazy. Love them. So you wouldn't come and see me if you were like a boxer trying to make weight, or you were somebody that just went to the gym a couple of times a week. That's not my area of expertise. So you also want to find the right type of dietitian and, spend to what you can invest, get a little bit of advice, whether it's an online course or something that's, low hanging fruit, low ticket item first, before stepping up into a bigger investment in time and money, if that's where you're at.
Yeah, it makes sense, because we will invest. Like, I mean, I'm a little bit obsessed with Hoka shoes. They're not the cheapest out there, so we do spend the time, or the money. Yeah, we do spend the money investing in the gear for the
totally
we've chosen. So yeah, it absolutely makes sense to invest in our bodies as well. That's the thing that we've got. That's ours, and yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to invest some time and money into fueling. I wish I could take my own advice.
It is the one thing that gets you to the finish line, right? Your body. And it's also the thing that you have for life. You can't trade it in or upgrade like you can a Garmin watch or a new bike or, fresh shoes. You have to respect it and look after it, because you can do a lot of damage now in our younger years that won't rear its ugly head till we're sort of 70, 80. And you're like, damn it, I've got osteoporosis in a big way and I can't do anything to fix that now.
Yeah.
Indeed, it's a thing that will get you to the finish line and past it. And when all the races are done and finished, many years' time, it's the thing that'll be left.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
let's look after it. I think that's probably a good place to leave things for this conversation. But we've now got to the most important part of the podcast, which is where we ask each of our guests to give us a song to put on the Get Out On It playlist on Spotify, something you train to, enjoy, race to, or are motivated by. So please, what song would you like to put on the playlist?
This is a great question.
It stumps. It's the one question that always stumps every single person who comes on. It's brilliant.
No, I've got it. I know what it's called. I'm just going to find. Here we go. Yep. Okay, you ready?
Yes.
We're ready.
I'm a bangers type trainer. Like, it's got to have a good beat. You want to move. And I love the song Energy by Stace Cadet and KLP. Go and look that up. Add it to your liked songs, add it to your next running playlist. You'll be like smashing PBs all over the place.
I love that. Yes. Yeah, I love a banger too. I love the kind of like prodigy or hard rock, like really, really, really intense kind of anger. Anger fuels my my long runs as well. But yeah.
So we're going to end this podcast with that song playing us out in the outro. That'd be pretty sick.
I'll see what I can do. But before we do end, where can people find you on the internet if they want to come and look up your services and have a chat?
The best place to find me is maybe my website, which is dietitianapproved.com, but you have to spell dietitian correctly, the right way, with 2 T's, not a C. So it's DIETITIAN, approved.com. I'm also all over Instagram, and my handle is at dietitian, spelt correctly, .approved. And if you are a triathlete and you want some help with your nutrition, the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program is where I help athletes do that. And I do have a podcast with that same name, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Nice. We'll put
Brilliant.
all of those links in
all of those links
our
will be in the
notes.
show notes. Yeah, we'll make sure everybody comes away. Thank you so much for coming and joining us for a chat. It was really appreciated.
Yeah, loved it. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much.
You're welcome. It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
The debrief.
The emphasis was correct, I feel.
Okay.
So what did you think of Taryn?
I love Taryn. I thought she was awesome. Although I am a little bit disappointed that she didn't say I could eat all the crisps without worrying about eating all the crisps.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting, the whole, if you're craving that after a run, then you didn't fuel appropriately leading into the run, and you didn't fuel appropriately during the run, is what she said. And so therefore, afterwards, what you're craving is what your body is deficient in because of the exercise that you've done. And yeah, I mean, you do tend to have a bit of a tendency to do the big exercise session or do the big race and then want to eat all the crisps.
I do love the crisps.
You do love the crisps.
I do live for the crisps. And also I think...
You
I don't
live
know.
for crisps?
I do. I live for the crisps. But I also... I don't really want to be one of those people who's like food as reward, because, you know, we need food to be alive. So, like, you should never... I don't think you should regard food as reward. But there is a little part of me, if I've just done a 35k or 42k long run on a Sunday, don't I deserve the crisps?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a difference there. When you're craving something after a long run, you're craving grease and fat. It's like having a hangover, isn't it? You're deficient in certain things. So your body's like, oh, I need stuff. And so, yeah, there is an element, a big element, probably the biggest element, which is fuel appropriately leading into exercise, fuel appropriately during exercise, and you will have left cravings afterwards. But there is a small part of it, I think, which is the reward thing, where you're like, oh, you know what? It doesn't even matter if I'm hungry or not. It doesn't matter whether I'm craving or not. I know that tastes nice and I fancy it. There is an element of that. And I don't think there's too much wrong with having a little bit of that sometimes. Certainly if you've done a big race or an ultramarathon or something, it's very important to have the right food afterwards to aid recovery. As long as you're doing that, a little bit of like what you like ain't gonna hurt you too much as well. As long as it's not just, I'm going to eat nothing but crisps for the day after I've done an 80-kilometer ultramarathon.
I think that's what I did last year. I do remember the day after last year's ultra where I ate nothing but crisps, which was delicious, but I don't think that helped me any.
No, probably didn't help the DOMs on their road to recovery.
No.
And probably didn't help the mental state either, because the sooner your body starts to recover and you fill yourself with building blocks that will help that, the macros and the micronutrients, then, you know, the sooner your head is also going to get back in the game.
Yeah, because I did actually quite enjoy what Taryn was saying about the 4 R's of recovery, although I think we only covered 3.
3 hours of recovery.
The 3 hours of recovery, because we missed the 4 because we got completely sidetracked by our own conversation. No, I thought that was really interesting, those 3 R's of recovery: repair, refuel, and revitalize. Protein, carbs, and minerals. Because I do think as well, a lot of people, like she said, do tend to forget about the minerals because they're all like, ooh, just done a big thing, I better have my protein shake.
When you say a lot of people forget about the minerals, which people are we talking about?
All the people in this room.
50% of the people in this room.
50% of the people in this room forget about the minerals. No, I don't. I'm not talking necessarily about you or me. I'm just saying in general.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, like Taryn was saying, you know, people do forget about the minerals.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's hugely important to get your macros in, as you said, but also, like you say, you know, if you're making a protein smoothie, put some nut butter in there, put some spinach in there, put some seeds in there, so that you're getting all those little micronutrients as well.
You're wibbling on about macros. What does that even mean?
Macro, those are the pillars of nutrition. You know?
Okay.
So,
Tell us what they are.
protein, fats, carbs.
Okay. All right.
Alcohol also counts as a macronutrient, but yeah, just saying.
No, it doesn't.
It does.
Alcohol
Yeah.
is a macronutrient.
Yeah, it's not a good one, but it is one.
Really?
Anyway, carry on. What were you going to say?
Okay. Anyway, so yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed that, learning about the 3 R's, because I think that will help me for future long distance races or future long distance runs on Sunday. So yeah, good to know. Disappointed that I can't eat all the crisps, but I did learn a lot, especially, I mean, I kind of knew it. I know I don't fuel properly during, but yeah.
Yeah, I think the most important thing to take away from that, for someone like you who struggles to fuel properly, is to disassociate fueling when you're training and racing with hunger, and to associate it as a job, something that if you don't do it, then your experience is going to get worse and worse, because ultimately you are putting the building blocks in place that allow that fatigue point to be further down the road than it would be if you didn't fuel properly. Because if you don't put the money in the bank now, it ain't going to be there for you to spend in the future.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. My biggest problem is, before I started running, I was always a very intuitive eater. So if I was hungry, I ate. And if I wasn't hungry, I wouldn't eat. Or if I was in the middle of a meal and I wasn't hungry anymore, I was sated, I'd stop eating and leave some food. Do you know what I mean? I didn't rely on my body, but I understood that my body knew what it needed. So hungry, eat. Not hungry, don't eat. And when I'm in the middle of a long run or any training, I just don't feel hungry. So I really need to work on, disassociating training and hunger.
Yeah, because, you know, it's that you have a job to do, and that's to fuel yourself. It's not about whether you want to or not. You have to.
Yeah.
If you don't, you won't succeed.
Do you think my inability to fuel properly had something to do with my DNF on Saturday?
No.
Oh.
In this instance, no. I mean, you finished at 56 kilometers. You may have got further down the road and bonked hard because you were fueling, but you weren't fueling quite as much as I would like you to have done. But you didn't get to that point where you bonked hard. So your DNF on Saturday was, in my opinion, purely down to the time you lost fighting the cows and the time you lost going off course because you had been destabilized mentally by the cow incident. You only missed that checkpoint by 7 minutes, and you lost probably upwards of 35 minutes buggering about the countryside.
A lot buggering about,
so no, I don't think it was the fueling. I mean, there's a case to be made that if you'd fueled more appropriately or fueled better, maybe you'd have been in a better mental state when that cow incident happened, and a better mental state to not go off the course, because your blood sugars in your brain might have been dipping somewhat, and you might have been a little bit able to handle it a bit better. But I mean, that's a reach.
Okay, fair enough. Oh, well, that's all right then. That's good to know, because I did enjoy those sandwiches that you handed me every now and then. That was quite good fun, running past you with a sandwich.
Yeah.
Grabbing hold of that. Yum, yum,
I
yum.
think I did a really good job of being sandwich provider.
You did, and it's nice to have a sandwich.
I think the most important thing I did that day was give you cold drinks fairly frequently.
Yeah, that made a massive difference. Such a big difference.
So shall we go and have a coffee and forget about it?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
The weekly roast.
Is that it?
So, being that Taryn is from the east coast of Australia, west coast, east coast?
East Coast, you said.
Was she?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I popped over there.
Never eat shredded wheat. East Coast. Brisbane, no?
Yeah, Brisbane, yeah. So
Yeah.
I popped over there and I went to Dramanti Coffee, which...
Dramanti
Coffee. And they've got a lovely little roastery and cafe. And then I picked up some Tingle Blend.
Tingle?
Which is a name of one of the roads which dissected the first roastery they ever made. So they've named it after that road, and it's a classic favourite for most cafes. The focus is balance with a medium to full body, presented with clean flavours and an enduring aftertaste. The palate promotes notes of almond, cherries, and milk chocolate made of beans sourced from 4 origins.
Almonds and cherries, that sounds like Bakewell tart to me.
It does a bit, doesn't it? It tastes a bit like that as well.
Bakewell tart.
It's really quite comfort foody. And I must say, I do like, being that I don't eat dairy because I'm a vegan, I do like the taste of milk chocolate in a coffee.
The milk chocolatey taste.
Without having to actually ingest dairy, I get to experience some of that flavour.
Nice. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's nice as an oat milk latte.
Well, there we go. Let's be honest. Let's be honest while we're sitting here having our coffee, shall we?
Let's do it.
What are you going to be honest about?
What am I going to be honest about this week?
Yeah.
I don't know actually, because I haven't done a lot of training this week. I have spent a lot of time reflecting on Saturday this week and kind of, I don't know, vicissitudinous reflections, I think, because sometimes I'm like, oh well, you know, it is what it is and there'll be next year and it's absolutely fine. And then I kind of go round a little bit and I'm like, oh fucking hell man, I had 5 hours left, there was only 24k, I totes could have finished, why wouldn't they let me finish? And then I go back to a kind of zen state and I'm like, it's alright, it is what it is, like that all week, which has been a little bit weird.
Yeah, I think you're doing the standard processing thing. You have returned to a point of you've contextualized it and you've refocused on goals, on the next goals going forward. You're not hung up on it. I don't think. I think you are using it more of as a learning point than a source of frustration.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I definitely learned a lot. Definitely about barrière horaire, cut-offs. Definitely about cut-offs. And that people are quite strict about them. So in my next, well, I mean, I probably won't be doing that one again solo next year, but yeah, think about cut-offs. That's really important. I think my problem was I'd spent so long in my training with my long runs thinking about my personal lapping system so that I could chunk that 80k into smaller chunks, that I completely disregarded that actually race events have their own cut-offs.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we knew going in you had 2 hours to get that first one done, 2 hours to get that second one done, and then a slightly bit longer to do the third one. But it was, you know, it was impacted by terrain, it was impacted by moo-moos. So, you know, we just have to draw a line and take the learning points and move forward.
Yeah. But I think what's been really nice this week, this post-race week, is I remember this time last year I had very, very significant DOMs for more than a week this time last year, because I remember going to yoga on Tuesday after the race last year, and it was excruciating trying to do, even though my yogi had modified the session for me, it was excruciating. This year it's absolutely fine. It's Friday now, I did sports in the park, no worries. Like, my DOMs have gone, and it's been Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 6 days. 6 days, all my DOMs have completely gone.
It's because you're a lot fitter and stronger than you were the previous times you did it. You've been on this journey for 2 and a bit years now, so this third year is a third of that, if you think about it in those terms. So the improvements will be massive at this point.
Yes, I was quite pleased with that. It was quite nice to see those DOMs from Sunday morning and Monday morning dissipate quite rapidly as the week progressed. So that was nice, and I feel like I can run again quite soon. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know last year it took me a good couple of weeks before I did a run again, but now I'm already gagging for it, already excited to go back out and have another run.
And that was probably more mental than physical.
Yeah, hopes. What about you? What do you got to be honest about, Mr. I can run super fast again now, nothing hurts my hip anymore? Hoo-yah!
Yeah, but still, to be honest, this week I faced something that I need to get a handle on.
Okay.
And that is having attended your yoga class with you on Tuesday.
Yes.
And done sports in the park today and last week. I really need to get a handle on my lack of flexibility, because it slapped me in the face on Tuesday quite how bad I was at being able to do any of the yoga stuff, whatever they're called, poses, that the yogi was putting our way, and how modified my solution to them had to be, and how much help she had to give me to show me what to do. So I need to, now that I've recovered my hip, I really need to get my flexibility back online, because I've noticeably lost. I mean, I was never that flexible, but I wasn't as bad as I am now, so I need to get my handle on that.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I'm glad you've had that realization, because I've been telling you for ages to find a yoga session down where you live.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to get an app.
Don't just get an app. You've never done yoga before. It's such an easy way to injury.
No, a stretching app, not a yoga app. I'm probably not going to go with the yoga thing, but there are apps out there that can help you with flexibility.
Okay.
So I might go down that road, but we will see. But anyway, that was my little micro, let's be honest.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm glad you had that realization. It's nice when stuff like that slaps you in the face sometimes.
Should we put some music on and forget about it?
Yes. Turn it up.
That'll probably do, won't it? Cool. Well, I have decided this week that I'm going to put the song Heartless Year into the playlist, which is it's an old song by the band of Heathens, but they've re-released an acoustic version of it, and it's re-released this week, the 2023 single, and it's a really, really good song. And as we're beginning to edge towards the end of the year, I thought it was a nice summary of how things have gone this year, and I thoroughly recommend anybody checks out the Band of Heathens, because I love them.
The Band of Heathens.
And what about you?
I have been caught short. I totally forgot to think of a song, so I'm going to go with something by Disturbed, because they're my fallback. And I tell you what I'm going to go for.
Go on then.
With Disturbed. I'm going to pick their tune, Indestructible, because I think that's quite fitting at the moment for me.
Yes.
Yeah, even though I DNF'd and I was in a lot of pain at the beginning of the week, today, Friday, I'm at a place of peace and nothing hurts. So clearly, I am indestructible.
Yes, you are. I mean, you really impressed me.
Thanks.
Last weekend, you really impressed me this week. Your recovery is astounding, and I think you're pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So well done.
Apart from all of the micro naps I've had to have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 7, 8, 9 times a day.
Yeah. We're working on that. I think that's about it from us, isn't it?
It is, I think. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else I need to tell people.
I want to make a quick note that obviously we both know the quality of the audio last week was pretty poor, but unfortunately it was only after we recorded the episode that we realised we'd used it latched onto the wrong microphone, so that's why there was quite an echo.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So if you want to find out more, head to www.getoutinit.events. There's loads of info on there, and you can sign up for the newsletter, download the personal development friend, and book a free consultation with us to discuss your health, fitness, and a roadmap to help you get where you need to go. Also, if you like the podcast, leave a review. It's very useful, and we could do with some.
We could, and it makes us feel nice. And it will make you feel nice to make us feel nice.
Endorphins.
Everyone's a winner.
Indeed. Cheerio.
Bye.
Thanks for hitting the trails with us this week. We'll meet you back here next Monday for more news, more views, more nature.
All the links for our socials are in the show notes. Find and follow us on Facebook, Insta, YouTube and Twitter. You can subscribe to our newsletter from our website for all the latest updates and camp plans. You get a fun free gift when you sign up.
Leave a review on your podcast app. It's really easy and really helps us out.
And if you've got any friends who could do with getting out in it, then bring them along to next week's outdoor adventure. We'd love to have you all with us.
Catch you next week. Cheerio.